Hi, morning guys. We're going to talk about angle relationships, and more specifically, we're going to talk about parallel lines that are cut by a transversal. So we're all familiar with parallel lines. So this is a set of parallel lines. Typically, you'll see a symbol, an arrow on the lines, and that will tell you that those lines are parallel to one another. A transversal is going to be a straight line that's going to cut through these two parallel lines. So this would be our transversal. When we have a set of parallel lines with a transversal, 8 angles are created. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You see we have 4 obtuse angles. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you'll see that 4 acute angles are created. 1, 2, 3, 4. Each one of these obtuse angles all has the same measurement. They're all what we would call congruent. And each set of the acute angles, all 4 of them, are also congruent. We're going to start quickly by going over some of the theorems or the postulates discussing talking whether or not how we know if they're congruent or if they're supplementary towards one another. So there are 4 theorems that we're going to go over. I'm going to show you the theorem, talk to you a little bit about the theorem, and then I'm going to show you some examples of how to solve for x, a variable, if given one of the angles. So the first one I have here we're going to talk about is the alternate exterior angle. So alternate, let's think of the word alternate, right? The word alternate refers to opposite. So when we're talking about alternate, we're talking on the opposite side of the transversal, alternate sides. They're not on the same side of the transversal, they're on alternate. Exterior refers to outside of the 2 parallel lines. So if I'm on the exterior of the parallel lines and I'm alternate the transversal, you see here this would be alternate exterior angles. This angle and this angle. Well, there are 2 sets of alternate exterior angles. So this is set 1 and this is set 2 of alternate exterior angles. Well, each pair is congruent to one another. You'll notice that this set, each one of them is acute angles. So those angles are going to be congruent, meaning they have the same value. So if this is 40, guess what? This one is also 40. The other set are also congruent to one another. So this set over here, we'll notice that, let's say if this is 40, these are supplementary, these two, so this must be 140 because these 2 angles have to add up to 180. Well, if that one is 140 and this is an alternate exterior and we know that those are congruent to one another, well, this one would also be 140 degrees. So this is the alternate exterior theory. The second one is alternate interior theory. So again, alternate, we're referring to opposite sides of the transversal. Interior now we're referring to inside the parallel lines as opposed to outside the parallel lines. So here are my parallel lines. Here's my transversal. So alternate interior, so I'm inside. So if this is 1, I want one on the alternate side of the transversal. This would be 1 pair of alternate interior angles. They're congruent. You notice this one is acute and this one is acute. Alternate interior angles are always congruent. The second set, here, again, this one is another set. So we have 2 sets of alternate interior. These, you'll notice, are both obtuse. These are also congruent. Together, these 2 would equal 180. These 2 are going to equal 180. But the blues are going to be congruent, and the reds are going to be congruent, meaning they have the same value. Next set, corresponding. This is one most of the kids are having the most trouble with. A corresponding angle, they lie on the same side of the transversal and on the same side of the parallel lines. And there are 4 sets of corresponding. The mistake most of the students are doing is identifying vertical angles as corresponding, but vertical angles are not corresponding angles because they're lying on the opposite side of the transversal. Corresponding angles lay on the same side of the transversal, same side of the parallel line, and they're congruent. So if we're looking at this one, the one that's on the same side of the transversal and on the same side of the parallel line is that one there. So those two angles are corresponding angles, and they're congruent. You'll notice that they're both obtuse. Another set, this one and this one. These are another set of corresponding angles. They're on the same side of the transversal, on the same side of the parallel lines. You'll notice they're both acute, so they're congruent. Third set, they lie on the same side of the transversal, same side of the parallel lines. They're corresponding angles, also congruent. And finally, your fourth set, this set here, is a fourth set of corresponding angles. So we have 4 sets of corresponding angles. Again, we're looking for angles on the same side of the transversal, on the same side of the parallel line that are congruent to one another. The last set, so all the other sets were congruent. This set is a set of supplementary angles, and they're same side interior. So we were looking at alternate sides, opposite side of the transversal. This is the same side interior, so we're on the same side of the transversal. Here's my transversal, so we're on the same side. They're interior, so they're inside the parallel lines. So this is one, and then this is the other. Together, because they're supplementary, if we add this angle with this angle, they're going to equal a total of 180 degrees. Now we have 2 sets of same side interior angles. The other one is on the other side of the transversal. Same side of the transversal, interior of the parallel lines. Again, these two are also going to add up to 180 degrees. Those are the 4 postulates, or the 4 theories on the angle relationships. Now I'm going to show you how to find x. If we're given one of these angles, how we can use the theorems to find the other angles. Well, I walk myself through 4 steps as I'm trying to determine, before I even set up my equation. The first thing I want to know is, what is the relationship of the angles? Are they same side interior, alternate exterior? Are they corresponding, or are they alternate interior angles? And I want to know that because if I know the relationship, then I can identify whether or not they're supplementary or congruent. Because if they're supplementary, that's one relationship, and I have to do one thing with the angles. If they're congruent, I have to do something else to find x. So there's no one way to do it. There's 2 different ways depending on supplementary or congruent. If they're supplementary, I know that supplementary angles add up to 180. So I need to set those angles added together equal 180. So I would take the value of one of the angles, add it to the value of the other angle, and set them equal to 180. If they're congruent, that means they equal each other. So instead of adding them together to equal 180, we set them equal to each other. Right? Angle A equals angle B. So you can see those are 2 completely different types of equations depending on whether or not they're supplementary or congruent. So that's the first thing you have to find out. Are they supplementary or congruent? And we know that based on the theorems or the postulates. I'm going to show you how to do one of each. So here, we're going to find, as an example, finding when they're supplementary. Well, why are these supplementary angles? Because they're what? Same side of the transversal, inside the parallel lines. These are same side interior lines. So if they're supplementary, we're going to add them together. So I have 2x, angle 1, plus angle 2, 3x minus 5, equals, they're supplementary, so when we combine them together, they equal 180. So now I'm going to use my math skills to identify the value of x. I'm going to add like terms. 2x and 3x, when I combine the 2 of them, is 5x. So I'm combining these 2 to equal this. And then, so 5x, I'm going to bring this straight down, minus 5 equals 180. Now I'm going to just use simple inverse operations. So as I'm looking at it, I see multiplication and subtraction. I'm doing the exact opposite. I'm going to do addition and then division. You always do the subtraction and addition first, and then the subtraction and addition first, then the multiplication division. So I have 5x minus 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the inverse. I'm going to add 5. You notice I'm going to put it directly under the value. I'm not going to put it over here. I don't want to confuse myself. Directly under the negative 5. And again over here, plus 5, I'm going to put it in the same column. It's a 10, so I'm going to put it in the tens column. So these two cancel each other out. 5x equals 180 plus 5, 185. So now I'm left with 5x equals 185. This is a multiplication problem, 5 times x. So the opposite of that is division. So I will divide by 5, divide by 5. X equals 37. So that's how we would find x. Now, if they ask me to find the angle, if they want me to find this angle, now I'm going to have to take the variable x of the value of 37 and input it for x into the angle. So if I'm finding this angle, it would be 2 times x. I know x is 37, so 2 times 37 equals 74. So the value of this angle when x is 37 is 74. Well, these two are supplementary, which means they add up to 180. So to find this one, I can just subtract 74 from 180. 180 minus 74 is 106. So the value of this angle is 106. All right? So that's how we would find x when we have supplementary angles. And then we input the x into the rule, the equation, the value. This is simply a rule. It's telling me to multiply x times 2. Here it's telling me multiply x times 3, then subtract 5. It's a simple rule. All right? So that's how we're going to find x in supplementary angles. Let's show you how to do it with congruent. Well, why are these congruent? Well, let's look at the theorems, the postulates. We have our transversal. They're on opposite sides, so this is going to be an alternate theorem. And they're inside the parallel lines, so this is alternate interior angles. Alternate interior angles are congruent to one another. So if they're congruent, do they add up to 180 or they equal each other? They equal each other. So angle 1 is 60. Well, 60 equals what? Angle 2. 8x minus 4. Alright, so now again, I'm going to use my inverse operations. I need to find the value of x. So I'm going to do the addition and subtraction first, then the multiplication division. I'm going to do the exact opposite of what I see. I see subtraction, so I'm going to add. Minus 4, well, I'm going to add the exact same value. Again, you see I lined it up directly under. I'm going to line it up directly under. So 60 plus 4 is 64. Equals 8x minus 4, positive 4. I bring nothing down. Now this is multiplication. It's telling me to multiply x times 8. Well, the opposite of that is division. Divide by 8. Divide by 8. 64 divided by 8 is 8. So x equals 8. So let's see. This is 60. This is congruent. They need to be equal to each other. If I take 8 and I multiply 8 times 8, I get 64. I subtract 4, I get 60. 60, 60. Absolutely. I've done it right. Check. The value of this angle is 60. The value of this angle is 60. 8 equals x. There you go. That's how you're going to find the value of x and then identify the value of the angles. The theorems, alternate interior, same side interior, alternate exterior, corresponding angles. Best of luck. If you have any other questions, feel free to contact me. Good luck.